I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world. Welcome back to tastylive. I am Dylan Ratigan. Time for another episode of Bootstrapping. Mark Rutzen is here. His firm is basically in the insights business. At least that's how I interpret it, Mark, in terms of what you guys are doing. HelloData.ai is the business. And from reading about it, your premise is that you're able to scrape information and analyze information in a way that you couldn't before AI, that delivers insights that you think have value in the market sense of the word. Is that a fair understanding how's my reading comprehension?
Yeah, no, ultimately, yes, we're aggregating data from a bunch of different sources and using it to streamline asset management for lenders and operators. Basically, if you think about it, apartment owners need to constantly survey the market and make sure they're performing well relative to the market. And lenders need to constantly monitor their portfolio and make sure their loan portfolio is performing well. They're looking at the same data on both sides, and they take a ton of time to analyze it, to get it all together, analyze, summarize it, and produce a report with those insights. What we're trying to do is bring all the data into one place, apply AI to it to analyze it and get it apples to apples so that real estate can actually be compared in an apples to apples way, and then use generative AI to summarize what you should do about your assets performance. How should you improve your performance, or what should you be concerned about from the lender's perspective?
And how far along? So it sounds like the focus right now is on real estate, not all assets. It's real estate.
Yeah, just real estate, and specifically our niche is multifamily real estate.
Okay. And how far along in applying the thesis you just described is the company right now?
Right now, we have a data pipeline that has listing data from across the US. We have an algorithm that we've built that analyzes the photos from real estate listings to get to comparability. Basically, we want to find, we're building the optimal comps algorithm so that we can get to apples comparisons across all multifamily properties.
And have you applied it? I guess my question is, have you deployed that algorithm yet?
The algorithm is in progress. What we do have available right now is Rent Source product, which you can subscribe for weekly rent surveys. So you can put in your competition, monitor them every week. We put that out as kind of a first product. And we have a revenue management platform called Liquid Rent that you can use to manage your income for your property. It gives price recommendations.
And your thesis at the end of the day is that there's an inefficiency in the markets in multifamily rental, especially, it sounds like, and probably sale as well. How big do you think that inefficiency is? In other words, what's your market size?
Yeah, so for multifamily operators right now, there's not a good revenue management solution at all for under 100 units, right? They can't really use the YieldStars and LROs of the world when you have too few units at the property. So us bringing a revenue management solution to that market, which is part of our roadmap, that I think the market is massive. Anyone who owns a property under 100 units and wants to do better at pricing their units, that's our market. And on the lender side, they all have to do quarterly financial reviews if it's Fannie or Freddie loans, and they have to do annual for any other type of loan. So it's the entirety of that market.
Yeah. So moving even beyond your application of AI in your business, what you're doing has a reference to a lot of things. Do you imagine a world where people like credit agencies or insurance companies are running analytics in this sort of general sphere that you're discussing with lenders and owners, just to basically get better real-time information on the status of their balance sheet?
So especially for insurers, I see a ready use case there because we have the visual analysis algorithm. It's trained on appraiser data and listing photos, right? And we made it so we can extract the condition, quality, and attributes of real estate without ever visiting the real estate, which I think in all comps models and AVMs today, and especially in the insurance market where they need to assess the condition of properties. I think that's a huge advantage that we have, and yeah, those markets could definitely use it.
And has anybody tested the veracity, reliability, consistency, et cetera, of the virtual AI visual scanning? Like, no, is an apple an apple, you know?
Yeah, so we're getting in the mid 90s accuracy for picking out rooms and attributes, and then condition and quality are a bit subjective, but we're getting comparable for those, right? Everyone's got a slightly different take on what's the condition and quality, but we're giving them a uniform way to assess that across a portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, you could imagine this with health insurance.
Yeah.
But then I know goes into a bioeth. I mean, but my point is, it's this type of data, the fact that this data is available and that this can be done, in your case, in a fairly benign, beneficial way, right? It's market efficiency in multi-family real estate.
Yeah.
But what if it's market efficiency in your health insurance policy based on how you slept last night?
Oh yeah, I mean there are companies trying to crack that right now, and the tech on the medical side is more advanced for like using AI to diagnose diseases, right? That there's been a ton of progress made there. I don't think as much progress has been made in real estate. Well, I know not as much progress has been made in real estate, but the same principles that make it viable there, that make it so that AI can help diagnose issues, can be used to diagnose issues with properties and see if they're going to perform well or not perform well, and identify what should be done to improve their performance.
Mm-hmm. Who do you view as your biggest competition?
At this point, it's a little bit tough to tell because there's not a great solution for the asset management financial reviews that the lenders do every quarter, and there's not a good solution for revenue management under 100 units for properties under 100 units. So there are probably a bunch of small competitors that are trying to do it in different ways, crack these problems. Ultimately, there are these big analytics platforms like RealPage, Yardi that have robust analytics. To a certain extent, it's competitive with what they're doing, but we're going after very different markets.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think the net effect on housing prices would be from the efficiency that in your fantasy? Does housing get cheaper or more expensive? Or does it just become more liquid without any impact on price?
I prefer that third option. I think everyone, would prefer that housing stays attainable for normal people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the prices have gone so high recently, and there's been a ton in the news about revenue management algorithms and price going higher and all that. I think making the markets as liquid as possible, making it so that you're not doing the manual, like I have to go to the property, look at every room in the asset, determine the condition and assess it that way. If you could do it from photos, I mean, you have a huge leg up. You can do it virtually.
And I guess what makes you so that's sort of the secret sauce, right? That's the AI. Is that now that we can use that you don't have to send a person to all these. You can collect vastly more information about high value assets without having to invest nearly the upfront capital to acquire the data profiles.
That's
means
right.
The question is, again, you're saying your stuff's what, 90%, 93% reliable?
For the accuracy on the photo extraction, it's all above 90% accuracy. Yes.
And is that your magic? Is that your edge? If against someone else, I mean, is that your thesis? Is that we can make the best visual AI engine and prompt series and whatever to get the best mix? Or why you instead of another startup with an AI vision from whatever world?
Yeah. So it's the synthesis of everything. So it's not, you can't get perfect apples to apples comparisons from just the visuals of a property, and you can't get it from just the underlying data. You need to combine it all. Like when a resident looks for a place to live, they're looking at the price, the location, and how does it actually look? Let me see the photos. Let me go on a tour of the property and look at a few different options that I like. Well, if you can automate that, if you can look at it the way a resident would look at it, well, then you could get true comparability at scale. And the implications of that are you build this universal comps model, which we're working on right now. We're very close to completing. Then you can link it to any data that you want to compare, and you have a true apples to apples comparison. So that's basically the theory, the premise behind it is that if we get a true apples to apples comparison of real estate, any data you want to link to that, you can very easily analyze and summarize the outputs of.
And how long do you think it will, like, if the end game is an optimized world? I had this same conversation with Tom Sosnoff yesterday. How long between, like, so let's assume that whether it's you or somebody else, that there's going to be a bunch of efficiency in pricing because of exactly what you're doing. Hopefully it's you, right?
Fingers crossed.
How long until that happens?
How long until
the basic adoption of pricing and management for 1 to 100 units is considered to be a more transparent and liquid market because of better information, which is sort of your thesis, right?
My hope is that it goes really fast and everyone adopts it. But the reality is product adoption in real estate is tough. It's tough to reach the owners and operators. It's tough to get adoption because what they've been doing has worked very well. People
old dogs, new tricks, old dogs, new tricks, you know.
I mean, but they've been successful with it, right? So it hasn't mattered as much. But now with the data available, the large players have access to so much more data that they're starting to outcompete in local markets with people who know those markets, right? They have the insight to be able to do that. If the local market players don't also adopt products like this to get that insight, they're going to start losing their edge that historically was because they knew their local market exceptionally well. Once that's gone, then it becomes a lot more level playing field, a lot more liquid. But I think there's a huge benefit to those under 100 unit operators. And
your theory is if you can sort of empower those operators with comparable or superior data, that they can maintain their edge by virtue of the fact that they live on Main Street and have their families from there, and they've been doing all the things. They know every house, every room, every cul-de-sac.
They can maintain their edge and expand into other markets, right? More readily. When the same information is accessible to everyone across the board. And I don't want the under 100 unit operators to get left behind. It's not fair that some companies have like all of the resources, all the analytics, and some have none, right? So if we can kind of democratize the data a bit and provide the same level of insight that the institutional operators have to the mid-market operators, I think they can expand similarly, expand their portfolios and do a better job managing their existing properties.
Mm-hmm. I wonder. Yeah, I'm going to say 10 years. I'm going to answer my own question in 10 years.
Definitely.
I just think that it takes time. I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm sure there's a business for you right now, and there will be whatever. Yeah. But anything like this being relevant as a standard, just because of all the various incumbencies, I mean, it'd be interesting to see whether you could demonstrate a specific value, like run a pilot in some very easy, relatively easy comp.
Yep.
The old way, the new way, and like you have, all that. Have you had a chance to really pilot the system in a multifamily network at this point?
Yeah, so we have the revenue management system now rolled out to 6 properties. We've been testing that for the past 2 months here. So we launched this year, so we're still pretty new, but we're very good at this, having sold a startup previously. That did predictive analytics for real estate. Been in the industry for 7 years. So we launched the liquid rent product. We're getting really good feedback on the outputs, the transparency of the outputs, because we're not just giving you a price and say, take it or leave it. We say, this is the price. This is why the price is what it is. Here are the number of leads you can expect. Here's how they'll convert to applicants. Here's how they'll convert to leases. And here's ultimately what your occupancy will look like, floor plan by floor plan. That is huge, that level of transparency, because people look at it and it's
huge.
Most providers are like,
and that's a subscription service in your mind?
What's that?
That's a subscription service in your mind?
Oh, yeah.
That's a portal that provides that dashboard?
Yep, we're charging for that today. the kind of secret sauce, the way that we got in the door without having to do full property management software integrations yet at this point, we made it all email based, right? So people know how to use email. They get their properties that they want to survey each week, as well as their revenue recommendations or pricing recommendations by email every morning. And so that has been a leg up. It's allowed us to get in the door alongside existing solutions so they can really compare apples to apples.
And what's the feedback?
Feedback's been that the pricing's been pretty spot on. At first, there's a warm-up period where you need to actually use the pricing recommendations before the system learns. But once it's learned, it learns it. Sure. And the pricing is very intuitive for where they think they should go. And they like the ability to say, okay, I'm at 88% occupancy. I want to get to 95 over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever my strategy is. Mm-hmm. How much do I have to push pricing or reduce pricing to get to where I want to be? They really like that flexibility and transparency.
Mm-hmm. And how quick can it move, considering that you do have the prior history as an industry expert in predictive data analytics with a successful previous enterprise, and you have this sort of inheritance of all that, and even just from a bootstrapping perspective, like how valuable is it to have prior experience in something like this? It would seem massively valuable, and how quickly do you think you can move? I guess would be my final question for you. How quickly can you move this forward?
Yeah, so if you look at the website, we've got 4 products launched just this year. In the time, I think it was mid-January that Tim and Nico announced that Hello Data was even a thing. I joined them in May. But they were actually my first 2 hires at the last startup, right? So we've been doing this a while. That the knowledge of how real estate owners and lenders operate, like the details of how it actually works, extremely important. And a lot of startups stub their toes because they're like, oh, I think it works this way. Let me propose this. And then they say, there's 9,000 little details that you're missing there. And so they don't really trust it, right? We know how operators think, we know how lenders think, and we build the products for the gaps in their workflows that we know are there, the problems that we know need to be addressed. That has led us to launch 4 products in this year that we have traction on each one. But to the speed of development, I know that we can develop fast, but AI is also moving incredibly fast. If you're following it all, like there's updates every single week, crazy advancements. And in one instance, we had this product called AnyExtract that was extracting from PDF documents, structured data. We decided to lean away from that product, actually, because ChatGPT is making such great strides. Now there's I've seen a couple products now where you can upload a PDF and ask questions of it or extract certain data. We don't want to put 6 months into getting the perfect extraction algorithm, and then all of a sudden ChatGPT says we have the perfect extraction.
Yeah, you forget about it. Very interesting. Well, listen, anything, for market efficiency, which it sounds like is sort of where you're pointed, and also advocacy for the smaller operator, both of which are always appealing efforts. Mark, it's a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on getting this thing up and running.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Mark Rootson, the company hellodata.ai. You are watching Tasty Live. I am Dylan Ratigan. We are back after this.